let's talk about another part of get, which is using get as a phrasal verb. Phrasal verb. So we use the word get and then another word, or maybe 2 or 3 words, like get in, or get on with something, or get around, or there's a lot of phrases and they have different meanings. Get over, Chao says. Yes, exactly. So we have these usual meanings, and then we have phrasal verbs. So let's say that this is get plus get out, get on, get in, get off. Let's start with these. And then we can also say into, onto, out of, and off of. So we're not going to talk a lot about phrasal verbs today, just the ones about get. But it's really important for us to remember that English is strange because we have like a condition or a state, like a situation of in. And a person can be in. Right? Like I can ask my friend, are you in? And he can answer me, yes, I am in. And this is okay. In many languages, in is connected to the verb. So it's connected to another part of the sentence. So it's not alone. But in English, we can talk about this situation of in. And so, for example, I forgot my keys to my house. I call Mike. Mike, I forgot my keys. I don't know what to do. Okay, Kris, let me call you back. 5 minutes later, Kris, do you still need my help? No, I got in. I got in my house. I got in the house. I got in. I successfully moved from out to in. Right? I got in. So we use this a lot, and the situation tells us what this is about, right? We have to know the context of the situation. So here are 4 of these conditions, 4 of these situations that we usually speak about. Out, on, in, and off. In and out are opposite. On and off are opposite. If you are in, it also means that you are not out. Right? So if I say I got in, then you understand he was out and now he is in. Because get means become. This means to change, right? We're changing how we are. We're changing become. So there's also these other words, out of, onto, into, out, off of. And there's a rule about how we can use these. So for example, out of, onto, into, off of, these we can use when we have an object, when we have something after this. So we can say, he walked into the room. He walked into the room. This is about movement. And we have an object, the room. We have something that where the action goes, right? Out, on, in, and off, these can be about movement. We can say he walked in the room. This is okay. He walked in the room, he walked into the room, it's the same. But it's also about location. We can say he is in. Right? We cannot say he is into. We can never say this because these ones are about movement and we must have an object of this action. The action needs to go somewhere. And these words can be about movement, or they can be about location. And you can have an object or no object. And so that's the difference between these words. Okay, but sometimes these words have even more meanings, right? Like, for example, to get on. We have get on, and in American English we say to get along with. Get on with or get along with. These are the same. American English and British English. British English, get on with. Like someone might say, he doesn't get on with his father. It means they don't have a good relationship. They don't agree about lots of things. Right? In American English, he doesn't get along with his father. Right? Maybe they don't talk a lot. They're not friendly. They're not friendly. They don't get along. Right? But also get on with something. Sometimes this means hurry up, continue. Like you might say, okay, Kris, you gave us enough examples. Let's get on with the lesson. Let's get on with it. It means let's hurry up and start. Let's hurry up and start. Let's hurry up and move forward. Let's get on with it. So there's really so many phrasal verbs because get can connect to so many different words. And the real meaning that changes the phrasal verb is here. It's with these smaller words that connect with get, right? Get has the same meaning, become. Become or buy or obtain, right? Get has these meanings. But then when we add these other words, that's where we get lots of other things. Like, for example, to get around. Let's look at this example. To get around. So we also need to understand that sometimes there's a phrasal verb with these words that are not the verb, right? This is a phrasal verb. We have the verb get, and then we have another word. This is called a particle. Sometimes we have one particle, sometimes we have two, sometimes we have three. And sometimes they look very similar. Like to get around looks similar to get around to. But these are two different phrasal verbs with different meanings. So it's important if it's just one particle or if it's two. If there's more words, then maybe this means something different. In this case, get around, I can think of three meanings. First meaning, get around. It means travel, to travel inside of an area. Like I can ask, how do you get around every day? How do you get around? And you might say, I drive a car, I have a car, I drive. That's how I get around. Or you might say, I use public transportation and I take the bus everywhere I need to go. This is how you get around. You move in the city, right? Get around also means to spread something. To spread, like coronavirus is getting around. It's moving to many different areas and people. We might say this about how do I say this nicely? We might say this about a girl who has a lot of boyfriends. She gets around. I think you understand what I'm saying. Another meaning is to get around something. to get around something. This means that we go around it. Usually this means, this can be the direct meaning, like the bus could not get around the rock in the road, right? We can mean it like this, or we can mean it in a metaphoric way, and it can mean to go around the law, for example. There's a law that says we can't do this, so maybe we can do this and this and this, and we can get around that law, right? So this is also another way to get around. But get around to is different. Get around to means to have enough time and to have a chance to do something. For example, oh, I needed to write 10 pages today, but I didn't get around to it. I didn't find time for this. I didn't have the chance for this. I didn't get around to it. So we might tell someone, hey, you might tell your husband or wife, can you please wash the dishes if you get around to it? Right? Like, wash the dishes if you get around to it. Like, if you have a chance, if you have some time, if you have a moment, do this, right? To get around to something. People say this a lot when you told the person to do something a week ago, and then they didn't do it, and they didn't do it. And you say, hey, what happened with this task? You didn't finish it. Oh, I wanted to do it on Monday, but I never got around to it. And then I forgot about it. I never got around to it. People like to say this phrase. So you can see that get around and get around to are very different. And there's a lot of phrases with get. I don't want to give you too many of them today, because I think we talked about a lot already today. But it's an important thing to know, because get is shorter than become. Get is more conversational than become. And native speakers use get a lot, with lots of different phrases and words and phrasal verbs, and we use it a lot. So it's important to know. Cool. Great. So I'll tell you one more phrase about get as a phrasal verb. This is to get into something. To get into something. You might say this about a child. You have a door. The door is locked. The child should not go there. But somehow the child got into the room, right? So they moved in. They walked. They did something physically. They went into the room. They got into the room. But maybe you have just something that they should not touch or they should not play with, right? They should not play with, I don't know, these glasses on the table. And then the child starts playing with, the child got into the glasses. Means that they started to do something. It's about doing something with these glasses. So get into, it's about doing something. And we might ask a person, Marina, what are you getting into this weekend? This means, what are you doing this weekend? We can say, what are you getting into this weekend? It's also the phrase that we use to get into trouble. To get into trouble. To find problems, right? To get into trouble. You might say, When he was a child, he always got into trouble. He had some problems with maybe at school with the teachers or with other parents, other children, right? To get into trouble, to not follow the rules usually. But we can say we can say this in conversational English. We can just ask, what are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing this weekend? What are you getting into? What are you getting into this evening? What are you getting into tomorrow? My friends often ask me this.